Back at 9:14 now, and with reaction to the races, Assistant Professor of Political Science at the University of New Haven, Chris Haynes is joining us to talk. So first, let's hit the top spot, the governor's race. Yeah. Any surprises there? Were you surprised?
You know, I'm to be honest, slightly surprised on the Republican side, although not entirely surprised. What I think is, you know, President Trump really had an impact over both the Democratic and the Republican primary. On the Republican side, trying to galvanize his voters to support, you know, political outsiders. And what better of a political outsider than the former, you know, UBS and General Electric kind of exec, you know, Stefanowski. On the other side, you had, you know, the former mayor of Danbury, you know, somewhat of an insider. I think Republican voters just decided, we want change, we want something different. We care about the economy, and this guy's different, and he's interesting.
Yeah, I know Ned Lamont, I think by most people's estimation, was the front runner. But I think you were telling us before you're surprised at the margin of victory over Joe Ganim?
Absolutely. You know, Joe Ganim, smooth operator, very good candidate on television, but I think the voters in the Democratic primary just could not get over the fact that he was an ex-felon, convicted of corruption, and the whole tie to the whole Trump theme was every day Democratic voters see what's happening on television with the Trump administration, and they associate that with corruption, and I don't think they wanted their party to select somebody that in any way kind of resembled that.
Well, let's talk about the 5th District now. Huge win for Johanna Hayes, political newcomer. She came from, you know, nowhere politically, started her campaign only about 90 days ago.
I mean, hugely surprising, but what a great story.
Yeah.
And sometimes a great narrative and a great story can overcome a lot of things. And in the Democratic Party, you know, I think we sense this underlying tide of we want change, we want new blood, we want different, and we want things that are not like Trump. And I think Johanna Hayes was perfectly fit that role.
Yeah.
You know?
I think that makes sense. Okay, I wanted to ask you about turnout. May not overall turnout, because I don't know whether it was high or low, but going back and looking at the registration statistics in the state, there's roughly about 70% more registered Democrats than Republicans. And I was looking to see okay, did we see 70% more Democrats out participating than Republicans? And we didn't. So I'm wondering, does that mean that there was more activity in the Republican Party? And can we take anything away from that heading into November, or is that just nothing?
You know, it's kind of hard to do that because there weren't as many really contested elections. You know, Chris Murphy was uncontested. A lot of mayors were uncontested. Okay. There was interest in the Ganim-Lamont race, but you know, I think a lot of people thought that Lamont was going to win. Yeah. And so that could have depressed turnout on the Democratic side. On the Republican side, I expected, you know, a lot of turnout, a lot of interest. I mean, everyone and their brother ran for, and their mother ran for that office. 16 candidates, I think, in the beginning. Sure. And so, you know, not surprising, the Democrats obviously outpaced Republicans in the number of votes cast for the governor's race and for the 5th District race. Yes. You know,
but again, not to proportion. So.
Not to proportion, and so you know, you really, it's hard. It's really dangerous to try to draw, you know, predictions from the turnout in a primary election, especially when you don't have many contested elections on the ballot, and you don't have a presidential election out there too.
This is why I like having experts here. You see something, you don't know if it means anything, and sometimes you really shouldn't let. You got to ask. Mr. Haynes, thank you so much for taking the time to join us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Glad to have you here.
Thank you.